you ever watched a dancer move and thought to yourself, how on earth do they make it look so smooth? That fluidity, almost as if one movement is flowing into the next, but at the same time there's a sense of control and stability. I'll tell you a secret, it's not accident. It comes from mastering basic transitions such as glisser, which today's lesson is all about. But more specifically, we're going to be focusing on Glissade, because that, in my opinion, is the most obvious movement that incorporates this movement in dance. Don't worry, we're going to go into the meaning of the word Glissade very shortly, but before we do that, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Carmen, and welcome to my little dancing corner of the internet. I love everything ballet. I love talking about ballet. I love dancing ballet. I love thinking about ballet. I love watching ballet. And besides that, I'm also a qualified choreography ballet teacher, so I feel like I have the right to teach you guys how to master movements in ballet, even though I might not have them down pat because I don't actively dance anymore, but we'll overlook that for now, shall we? Thanks. Now, just for a bit of a brief recap, this is part 4 in our 7 movements of dancing series. In the first part, we focused on plie, second part, étendre, third part was relevé, and now we are on to G for glisser. So while glisser encompasses all smooth and gliding movements in ballet, today's focus is going to be on glissade. Before we can get into the execution in that, we need to know what it means. So let's take a more in-depth look at the meaning of the word in my Ryman's Dictionary of Classical Ballet Terms. I had the parts glisser, glisser, glissade. Glissade, a sliding step, one of the 4 classes of pas or steps, a linking step performed with a smooth, gliding quality and used to provide impetus for jumps, steps and turns. The dancer starts 5th position on demi-plie. She performs a dégagé, extending the working leg to 2nd or 4th entendu, just off the floor. Makes a light, well-traveled spring onto the extended foot with the other leg stretched and its toes just off the floor, and immediately places the foot into 5th position in demi-plie. May be taken sideways, forward or backward. In glissades traveling sideways, the arms usually begin 5th en bas, open to demi-second with the initiating foot, and lower to 5th en bas with the closing foot. In glissades traveling forward or backward, the arms usually open to offering instead of demi-second. Now what they mean by saying that is, if you were to have demi-second over here, that would be where you are holding your skirt out to the side if you were wearing a tulle ballet skirt. But now the offering position would be slightly forward like this. Like I'd say to my little girls when I was teaching back in the day, I would be offering the Queen of England a tray of treats and I would pass them to her thus. Wouldn't really, but you get the idea. When performed in series, glissade is studied soutenu, centralizing the weight. So in other words, soutenu means to bend and stretch. So you would glissade and stretch. Bend, glissade and stretch before it is taken de suite. So that's very important. You wouldn't immediately just go glissade, 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 because first you want to get the movement correct. So in other words, you would, as I said just now, soutenu, glissade, stretch, bend, glissade, stretch, bend. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. We have a guest artist joining the show because she was too excited to get out of her cage and she would not have left us in peace. So here she is. This is Zana, my granddaughter, my son's daughter. That being said, a glissade at times will have a little bit of a moment to shine. For instance, in an adage or something like that. For instance, in Advanced 2 in the choreography ballet method, there's an adage called glissade jeté fouetté. I'll just put a clip of it over this video so you can see what that would look like. But don't judge my dancing because, like I said, I'm not dancing professionally at all or a lot. So it's not a flashy movement, but it is very important to create seamless choreography. Glissade is used more between flashy kinds of movements, and it is what helps combinations to flow better. So we're going to start in 5th position, any foot forward, whichever you fancy. Going to demi-plie, brush the foot out to the side, glide through the air and land in 5th. Press pause and try that a couple of times on your own. Variations of a glissade would be glissade devant, where the front foot stays in front, Glissade derrière, where the back foot would stay at the back. Glissade changé, where the foot would change positions from front to back and vice versa. Glissade en avant, which would be a glissade traveling forwards, and glissade en arrière, which would be a glissade traveling backwards. So you need to focus on the turnout, the brushing out of the foot on the floor, along the floor, the glide across the floor. And you don't want to, when you do a glissade, to kind of like jump underneath yourself. You want to go a little bit further than where your toes are extended, if that makes sense. And then, of course, the precise landing. Port de bras is used for coordination. Now, I do know that there are many different schools of thoughts on this. I do know that different methods in ballet teach different things, and teachers in particular prefer different ways of doing it with the arms. For instance, I used to train with Josie Pretorius, and she'd have a guest teacher come in. Her name was Vivian Lorraine. What an amazing, amazing dancer she was. I mean, she was in her 70s and she put us to shame with her dancing. It was just, she was immaculate. She would love for us on the petit allegro to keep our arms bras bas on all linking steps, because she almost felt like it was going to waste time with the music, or it doesn't need to be a showpiece, so why add an arm to it? It's just such a quick movement. Don't waste time on the arms, just get the legs going so that you have the arms ready for the next bigger, more flashy, virtuoso movement. Honestly, I really do like that, what she was saying, because it just felt like you didn't have to waste time on arm movements. But that being said, in the Tchaikovsky ballet method, it's taught to have almost like a breath in the arms with the glissade. So it's not an actual movement, it's just a little bit of a and out as you do your glissade. And I like that because it helps with coordination and also just with a little bit of impetus. Even though the movement is not coming from your arms, this is very important, the movement is coming from your core, your legs, your glutes. It's not coming from your arms. So please don't use them as an excuse to be like, get up off the ground, okay? That is not what we are looking for. So common mistakes in a glissade would be making it a jumping step. So you don't want the glissade to look like it's a jump or a saute with lots of height to it. You've got to think of it more as gliding along the floor. So it's not a jump, it's a glide. Okay, so there's a very big difference. And also remember, it's not a showpiece, it's a linking step, so don't make it more than what it needs to be. Forgetting to make use of the floor, forgetting to brush the floor. So when you do a glissade, you want that brushing movement of the foot coming out. So if you even do it with your hand on the table, just slide it out to the side and point through the parts of the feet. So you really want to think of the floor as your friend, and you are using it to help you get the movement right. Don't fight the floor. It's not your enemy, it's your friend. Collapsing into the plie or into your fifth. Now this is something that happens very easily if you're not engaging your core and you're allowing the movement to come purely from thin air or just from your legs. That's not the case. It's coming from your core. When you finish your glissade, so you've just landed in, you really want to make sure that you're engaging your core, your glutes. The movement isn't just simply coming from the legs. Everything comes from the core in ballet. Please remember, very important. I'm so sorry. I was struggling to concentrate there with this little rubbish running all over the place. I'm sure you were struggling as well. So another common mistake is rushing the timing, or uneven timing. Not uneven, because it's more of a thought process coming into the preparation for your glissade, and then a snatch in, because you don't want that second foot to lag on, which brings me to my second common mistake, is lagging in the closing foot. Lots of people tend to do glissade, and that's not what a glissade is. The first part of the movement is a little bit more thought out, and the second movement is an in. So you'd go and in. I encourage you guys to practice some drills daily of a glissade devant, glissade derrière, glissade changé, glissade en avant, glissade en arrière. I will just put in some footage of where we can do some glissades together. I just want to quickly touch on the reasons why glissades matter. They create transitions that feel effortless and professional. They also showcase the maturity in a dancer's technique, the refinement of the and in, and it takes a lot of practice to tone something down in ballet, because initially you want to put a lot of effort into something and really focus on the actual movements, which will generally make it look like a bigger movement. But as you mature and grow in your ballet journey, you'll find that you'll be able to tone it down a little bit, but in the right way. It also reminds us that beauty lies in the small things, not just the big grandiose things, but in the small things. Because without steps like glissade, ballet would kind of be a bit boring. And then lastly, the more that you work on your glides, glissades, the more you're going to feel connected in your dancing technique, which I think is a beautiful thing and invaluable. Now, glissade might not be a soloist movement, but it is the soul of many beautiful transitions. With practice, your glides will elevate your artistry in ways that you might not have expected. I really want to just challenge you guys to practice your glissades mindfully, particularly in the beginning, because you really want to maybe slow it down and make it more of a bigger movement initially, because you want to really get that motion of the plie, the brushing, using of the floor, the gliding, and then closing into fifth. So please do practice it slowly, make it bigger than it should be. That is the journey of ballet. You don't just all of a sudden become a prima ballerina that has the artistry and the skills and the nuances of big and small highlighted movements. It starts with taking things back, so like you would if you were in preschool. So do start off slowly, but then the more you mature and grow in your dancing journey, your ballet journey, the more you'll find that you can add those nuances and highlight certain aspects of dance with its nuances and its grace and its beauty and all the rest of it. I would love to know where you currently find yourself with regards to glissades or in the movements of dance, or just in your ballet journey in general. What are your wins? What do you feel like you're struggling with? Maybe I can help. I don't know. Let me know. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the fourth part of this series, and I can't wait to see you in lesson 5. Lesson 5. Anyway, look after yourselves, be blessed, and I'll see you next time.